My name is Ioan Allen. I'm a Senior Vice-President at Dolby Laboratories, and I've worked for Dolby for 54 years. And I was first here in Cannes in 1974. So this marks the 50th anniversary of Dolby's involvement in the Cannes Film Festival. So it's like coming home, but after 50 years. Well, it started in 1974. And since then, I think we've been increasingly involved every year. We provide a lot of engineering support for 30 screens, I believe, that we're providing engineering support. And I like that partnership very much. We do. As a company, we really appreciate film festivals, and especially Cannes, because it's famous. You know, it's a good festival to be involved with. Believe it or not, there was a film called Callan. Callan was a very successful TV series in 1972-73. So they decided to make a full-screen feature film out of it. It was not very successful. The TV series was very successful, but it proves that the TV series doesn't necessarily translate into a feature film. So we screened it in a very little cinema here. I can't remember where, somewhere out in the suburbs of Cannes. Well, they tried to find a distributor internationally. It was not in competition, that's for sure. Can't remember. But there've been, obviously, most major films nowadays are Dolby films, so it's difficult to find a major film release that's not using Dolby technology somewhere or another. It's 1979 that Apocalypse was here, and that was pretty much the first film with a 5.1 soundtrack, left, center, right, left surround, right surround. And that was a major setup for Dolby to get that screened in what was then the Palais, because it needs big subwoofers, lots of surround speakers. And I think it was very successful as a screening here. And that was Francis Coppola's second movie to be in competition. The first one was The Conversation. The second one was Apocalypse Now. We have lots of stories about Apocalypse Now. Like every Francis Coppola movie, it's a history. And some people say it's not a movie. Once you get involved with Francis Coppola, it's a way of life. We had engineers from Dolby San Francisco set it up, and from Dolby London. I think with CST, we've always had a good relationship. You know, we're not in competition with some other organization. You know, we're here to help, and you're here to help as well. You know, so that the main winner is the festival. You know, from getting cooperation from us all. I remember it was a Sunday afternoon. No, I can't remember. It was very difficult to set up that theatre, even for Dolby Mono, because technical issue, they only had AC exciter lamp supplies, which meant there was a lot of hum. And as the audio changes with an analog soundtrack, if you've got hum in the power supply, you go boom, 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 boom. So at the last minute, we had to find some way to get DC exciter lamps in there. The theatre was very old, and I hope it's not there anymore. At least not with the equipment we had to face up with. And I think there were 3 screenings of the film. The first one, there were about 25 potential distributors there. The second night, I think there were 10, 12. The third night, there was nobody there at all. That was my experience of the first film at Cannes. As a company, we always feel it our role to provide the best technology that something else provides. And in other words, when we went to digital cinema, we were able to get many more channels. So our role then is to determine how to use those channels, where to put them, how many speakers you need in the ceiling, where you need speakers in the surround wall, how far away, how apart the speakers should be. And as you know, we've got quite a few Dolby cinemas in France, I think 12 now, which is a good number to get started with. The Lumière is going to be a challenge next year to do it here. It's very exciting to get the chance. but that's a big auditorium, and with a balcony it makes extra difficulties. But we can do it because we've done other big theatres in the past. But it's a challenge for installers, and it's a challenge for the designers. And I think the theatre will be closed for a couple of weeks while they hope to do the installation. We'll see. When our role in life is to come up with a new technology, and then it's up to the director to decide how much of that technology he will use. I think some movies are too loud and will use Atmos special effects all the way through. But if you drive a Ferrari, you don't need to drive at 250 kilometers per hour all the time. You know, it's nice to have some spacing. So I'm unhappy about the fact that many people think Atmos means loud and special effects. And it doesn't really. It's a better quality. And the director determines how loud it is, where the sounds come from, how many surrounds you use. You know, you can theoretically, you can release a mono film in Dolby Atmos and take advantage of the quality from a single source, and not be too vulgar, if that word's okay. The decisions that had to be made were pretty obscure and technical. Like, you're defining a three-dimensional space. How do you define the X, Y, Z, or Z locations for a sound? Do you reference it to a corner there and measure everything from one corner, or do you measure it from the center of the auditorium? Those kind of technical issues took months to think about the best solution. And also, as you probably know, we have bass management for Atmos that is not commonly used for regular 5.1. So we had to decide what the crossover frequencies should be for the low frequency loudspeakers for Atmos. So it's not suddenly, here it is, you know, there's a lot of work goes into it. At one point, I think we had 90 engineers and technicians involved in the design of Atmos. That's ranging through from how it's mixed right through to the equipment, to the loudspeakers you choose, the whole process, and the mathematics of how you store the signal. So it's a big task to bring out a new format like that. Yeah, and it's working okay. I'd say it's not a full circle. Atmos is probably in a progression. Maybe there's something coming up next. I mean, I don't know what it is, but every time we come up with a format, then there's something else around the corner that comes up next. So it's not circular, it's a linear line. I think it's a good relationship we have at all film festivals. But Cannes, it certainly works very well, I believe. And because Cannes is a huge festival, it's a lot more work for us because there are more screens to check out. You know, one of our major roles is to check out cinemas over and beyond. We don't just provide the equipment at a film festival, we make sure it's used correctly. And I want a situation where the director mixing the film hears something in the mix room and he will hear exactly the same thing in the cinema for playback. It's not easy. What's called translation, you know, from one screen to another, involves a lot of acoustics, reverberation, shape of the room, all those things are different. But that's the challenge, is always to get exactly the sound that the director wants in the movie theater. And it's not just in festivals, it's in every little corner cinema. And good luck. He can do whatever he wants. If you want a visual analogy about a painter, he'd say, I will give you a clean canvas and I'll give you more colours than you've ever had before, a palette of colours. And it's exactly the same thing for sound. You know, you can put a sound anywhere you want it. The distortion will be low. If you hear a voice, that voice will sound like he's talking to you. Those are the targets. And I'm fond of saying Dolby is not a sound, it's a capability.